Kimba is in charge.
Hi, Kimba.
It's me, Kimba, radio broadcast, episode 19. Now, this is what it's like when worlds collide. The episode is showing how vast and how tiny the music community is. Way back, episode 2, Get a Job, I spoke of my love for music. And I guess one would assume if you're a radio DJ, you love music. And that should be the case. It's always not necessarily. And there's different degrees. Live and breathe it versus just play it and can do without it. You know, music is in my head constantly alongside the other voices. When I was old enough, I used to love, and I say used to because we can't go anywhere right now, love to go see bands, local music, the Button South, the Tree House, Heavy Metal Mondays at Artstock's Playpen, Auto Drive, Defiance, Slider, Race, Stranger, Gypsy Queen, and then when I was on the air and it was in the mid-90s, you had Forget the Name and the Groovenicks and the Goods, Crease, Lungs, Nuclear Valdez, C60s, so many bands to go out and see and appreciate. And lucky enough for me, I was given the opportunity to have a local show. I got to name it. I went with Zeta Goes Local. It was definitely a labor of love. I included mostly South Florida, but if somebody like from Gainesville sent something in for the local show, I would play it because I just wanted local bands to have the opportunity. Sunday nights, it was 1 hour long, and on February 19, 1995 at 10 p.m., the very first Zeta Goes Local show aired.
Welcome to the debut of Zeta Goes Local. Me, Kimba, and lyrically, can't think of a better way to start it up. The band is My Girlfriend. This is Come Inside as 94.9 Zeta Goes Local.
I started with My Girlfriend. I love it. Hi, Miles. Hi, Zach. At some point, soon thereafter, the show was expanded to 2 hours. And I know I say this a lot in the cast, but it's a valid reminder that there was no internet. And one of the most difficult things I had happen with the local show was getting bands to let me know where they were going to be playing in the next week. I understand they would have to either call and tell me or mail it to me. There was no email. So that's how you had to do it. I thought it's like getting an ad for your band for free. Not only playing your band, but then saying where the band will be playing. I just used to laugh about it, though, how hard it could be sometimes to get bands to let me know where they were going to be. But it was great fun. We had a Grammy showcase in 1997 where the local band Sixo got to be on that showcase CD. And we also put out Zeta Rocks Volume 1. I got to write the liner notes, which was very cool. It was a compilation of local artists. Over 500 entries we got. Had to be whittled down to of 12 bands on the disc. Those 12 bands got their songs sent to record label. And one of the bands on the CD was chosen to open for Queensryche. That band was Love Canal. And the night that they played, I had Matthew Sabatella, a local artist, on Zeta Goes Local.
Zeta Goes Locals just got a call from Razor. He's out at the Coral Sky Amphitheater, and Love Canal had been picked by their record company to open that show, and they were the only opening band. They're on the main stage. They're opening for Queensryche. The crowd response was excellent. Love Canal was excellent. Maybe later we'll play a little Love Canal in celebration. That's kind of an excellent musical coup, isn't it, Matthew Sabatella? Hello.
Hello, how you doing there?
I'm just fine, and yourself?
I'm all right.
Oh, glad to hear it. And I'm dooming glad to hear it. Wow. Listen to that voice. Woo!
The only thing I love more than Matthew's speaking voice is his singing voice. He'd so be a DJ. That was on August 10th, 1997. And Matthew was releasing his solo album, Where the Hell Am I? Another gentleman that I had come to know throughout all of these years of going out and seeing local bands was a guy by the name of Rich Ulloa. Well, before I was on the radio, he had opened Yesterday and Today Records in South Miami off Bird Road. Bands would come in the store like Soundgarden, the Ramones, Green Day. And then in 1991, he started Y&T Music Label to release the debut album from the Mavericks. They went on to be hugely successful Grammy Award-winning band. The aforementioned Matthew Sabatella worked with a slew of local bands in some capacity back in the day. And he also managed to be in his own band, Broken Spectacles, and he also managed to have a solo career. We had all this intertwinedness You fast forward to August 14th, 2020, and the release on Y&T Music of Put Down That Weapon, Make Music, Not War. It's new recordings of old school, and in some cases legendary songs of nonviolence to benefit Guitars Over Guns. We'll talk about that Miami-based organization a little bit later in the cast, but it is time to bring on. We have Rich Ulloa, who is the founder of Y&T Records and the Y&T Music label, an executive producer of the project we're going to talk about, and just really an all-around lovable human being. Hi, Rich.
Hey. Hi, Kimba.
We have musician extraordinaire and also a delightful human being, Matthew Sabatella.
Thank you. I was worried you weren't going to say that.
Well, what Rich and I have in common is that we have this deep love for music without the benefit of having any actual musical talent.
Definitely me.
What Matthew has is he took our musical talent. That's how much he has. He has his own, and then he took ours.
I think a good ear for music is a talent in itself. You certainly have both presented music in your various ways wonderfully, so that is a talent.
Matthew was on Zeta Goes Local, because there's a little clip of audio that I play earlier in the podcast. August 10th, 1997. So it's 23 years ago, almost to the day that you were on the local show promoting your album, Where the Hell Am I? So it's good to see and hear your DJ voice again, because that could totally be your plan B.
Thank you very much. It's good to see and hear your DJ voice.
We're talking about Put Down That Weapon, Make Music, Not War, which was released on the 14th of August. And you said, Rich, this was like 4 years in the making.
It was conceptualized 4 years ago. Actually, like a month before the election in 2016, when my partner, Jim Worster, he planted all the seeds on this whole project. He sent me an MP3 of Amine Eager doing a great, beautiful version of the Bobby Darin classic, Simple Song of Freedom. I loved it. I uploaded it on YouTube with their permission, and I made a Facebook post. And Jim called me, and we started talking, and that's when we first talked about, hey, maybe we can do something like this for the local community, just local artists doing protest and anti-war songs. So we planted the seeds then, but I think it was about a year after that when we started really approaching the artists and coming up with a list of songs. So it's been about 3 years, and when you have 15 different artists who are each recording on their own, and over a long period of time, and everybody has lives and they're busy. It took a long time, and also we wanted to get the right mix, the right songs.
I did notice when you were kind enough to send this to me, is like, I flipped it over and I'm seeing all these names, and it's just giving me flashbacks, recognizing all the names that were either on Zeta Goes Local, or I played, or I got to see live, and you mentioned Jim, his distinctive voice on For What It's Worth. Andrew Haya's current lyrics to a verse of Eve of Destruction was really cool. And researching all this stuff, I realized Mary Carlson, I played her on the very first episode of Zeta Goes Local.
Wow, now we're going back a long time.
I don't think Matthew's aware of this. I was on a road trip. He sent the CD to me, and I got it right before I was leaving on the road trip, and I said, I'll definitely listen to it. Some of the songs I was familiar with, and some of the songs I was not. I had never heard. The track that blew me away was the Ballad of Penny Evans, which is performed by Matthew Sabatella. You had me at hello, or you had me at my name. I mean, the first sentence I remember just going, okay, what do we have here? I was in the car by myself, and when the track finished, I literally said out loud, holy, I'm going to listen to it again right away, because it is the third track on the album. But I said, no, I'm going to wait, listen through the entire thing, listen to it again, same thing.
Can I share a quick story about this?
Please do.
I had a very similar experience. I remember I was in Homestead, driving back home, and Matt sent me the MP3, dying to hear what he came up with, and he wouldn't tell me. I'm driving, and I had the same reaction you did. Holy, you know what? I was listening to it. I called him up the second it was over, and I go, Matt, I can't believe what you sent me. It's incredible. Very similar reaction.
Full body chills every time I hear the song, because I heard you say you picked the song for him, Rich, correct? You decided.
I did. Yes, I did.
There's a live show that's on YouTube. It's on Facebook. Yes. And I will put the links to all of that so you can see a lot of performers from the album doing their songs, including Matthew. That visceral feeling, though, to be able to produce that from your voice, it's a gift. So I thank you for that.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for all that. I mean, the song gets most of the credit. Rich's musical talent in selecting that song for me to sing. But yeah, it's a very powerful song.
Wow, was it a guy who originally sang this? Because I said I didn't know the song. And did you,
Right.
or was it a woman? And did you flip gender? So I'm like racing to look at the album when I'm stopped and I'm like, it's a guy.
Written and done by Steve Goodman. All the versions I heard pretty much were a cappella. I just thought I'd try to put some music behind it. I wasn't really familiar with him, and so I wouldn't have picked this on my own because I didn't know the song. But I will say that I usually don't get compared to other singers much, or when I do, it's always someone different. Like I almost never hear like one person will say, "Oh, you remind me of Woody Guthrie," or "You remind me of," and they'll name various. But Steve Goodman is the one name that I am compared to more frequently than anyone else, which means a handful of times over the years.
Kimba, when I heard the song, I felt Matt was the only person locally who could do it. And if he wasn't able to do it, it wouldn't have made the record. I was convinced that he was the perfect person to do it. I heard it for the first time. I was on YouTube, and I was watching a Melanie video, and she opened her set singing it a cappella. And that's the first time I ever heard the song. So I Googled it and looked it up, and I found Steve Goodman's version. And the rest is history.
It most certainly is. I'll tell you what. I love when that happens, when you hear a song and it just, boom.
Yes.
Just takes you over for a minute. Now, I know on the record version, you have Diane Ward and Karen Feldner playing Diane's drums, and Karen is...
Karen did some keyboard and really helped with the arrangement and production. We kind of produced it together.
And you played banjo on the recorded version.
I played, there's banjo, there's some keyboard bass, there's guitar on it. It's definitely different than I do by myself with the guitar, but
which is what you're going to do with the guitar momentarily.
Which is what I'm going to do momentarily.
I'm so excited about that.
Glad we didn't raise expectations too high.
I was just going to say, no pressure, Matt. No pressure. We don't mean to put you on the spot. How to buy the album, which you can purchase in most local stores, correct, in South Florida?
Yes. Local stores, and anybody can buy it also on our Bandcamp page, YNT Music Bandcamp, and Amazon worldwide. Yeah.
If you're listening to the audio version, in the description, I will have every single link you could possibly need to purchase this, and you should. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Put down that weapon, make music, not war is the name of the CD. The song is The Ballad of Penny Evans, and the man performing it goes by the name of Matthew Sabatella.
Oh, my name is Penny Evans, and my age is 21. A young widow in the war that's being fought in Vietnam. And I have 2 infant daughters, and I do the best I can. Now they say the war is over, but I think it's just begun. And I remember I was 17 on the day I met young Bill. And his father's grand piano, we played good old Heart and Soul. And I only knew the left-hand part, and he the right so well. He's the only boy I've slept with, and the only one I will. And it's first we had a baby girl, and we had 2 good years. And it's next the 1-8 notice came, and we parted without tears. It was 9 months since our last good night that our second babe appears. And it's 10 months and a telegram confirming all our fears. Now it's every month I get a check from an army bureaucrat. And it's every month I tear it up and I mail the damn thing back. Do they think that makes it all right? Do you think I'd fall for that? Well, you can keep your bloody money. It sure won't bring my Billy back. I never cared for politics and speeches I don't understand. Likewise, never took no charity for any living man. But tonight there's 50,000 gone in that unhappy land. And there's 50,000 heart and souls being played by just one hand. Oh, my name is Penny Evans, and I've just gone 21. A young widow in the war that's being fought in Vietnam. And I have 2 infant daughters, and I thank God I have no sons. Now they say the war is over, but I think it's just begun.
Sounded great, man.
Oh,
Oh no.
you're just, you slay me, Matthew. You slay me.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah,
Great version.
And I'm going to give you equal props for being the genius that knew that he was the guy to sing it. Truly, just blew me away. The entire CD is fantastic. I don't really want to take away, but there was just something about the way you sing that song that it's magical.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you can see a little over an hour performance from the CD on the YouTube channel.
It's about an hour and 15 total.
Yeah.
Total. Yeah.
And you can search Y&T, and you can purchase it at Bandcamp, Amazon.
I know for a fact that Sweat, Technique, Yesterday and Today, I know for a fact that they have it in stock.
Okay.
And Radioactive and We Got the Beats, we're ordering it.
Perfect. Matthew, tell us about your other projects, and we'll mention the websites.
Mentioned Karen Feldner, who's a musical partner,
Hi,
a
Karen.
singer-songwriter. So we do a lot of stuff together as a duo, recording songs. And I also do a lot of traditional folk songs on guitar and banjo. I have a band, the Rambling String Band. Yeah, when I was on your show in the past, 1997, as a singer-songwriter with a rock and roll band. That was kind of my roots with the Beatles and rock music and that kind of thing. But I kind of had an epiphany in the early 2000s and just got fascinated with folk music, like old folk music, like 1800s folk music and early 1900s, and just the way it intersected and the way it kind of illuminated the story of our country, really, for me. So I've just kind of been obsessed with learning old songs and studying the history behind them and presenting them in live performances. And my website, balladofamerica.org, that preserves and celebrates America's music from America's diverse cultural history.
And it fits right into the theme of this podcast, with all the worlds colliding throughout the years. We've kind of intertwined with each other with various things, and these legendary songs of nonviolence coming back to be released on an album in 2020.
Do you know that Matt plays banjo on 2 other songs on the record?
Do tell.
Yeah. He's on the fantastic version of and the band played Waltzin' Matilda.
Great song. Great song.
With Flash Company. He plays the banjo part of the first track, the James Taylor song by Mary Carlson.
That's one of the things, too, that we talked about in August of 1997 was how many projects you were on then. You were in Broken Spectacles, and you mentioned Kinetics, which I think was your high school band. I had to throw that in.
Funny.
You were there because of your solo album, but we did like a name check of all the bands.
At that time, I had played with Diane Ward quite a bit and Amanda Green. Those were almost always as a bass player.
Bass player, yeah.
You know? Now, I still play bass on occasional projects, but I guess do more on banjo probably.
Multi-instrumentalist, multi-talented. Yes. Put down that weapon. Make music, not war. Y&T Music Label, Bandcamp, and you can watch the hour 15 performance. And that is on YouTube. You can just search Y&T and you'll find it that way.
And it's also on our Y&T Music Facebook page.
Subscribe, like, follow, balladofamerica.org and ramblingstringband.com, and you can like all these and follow and
Guitars Over Guns.
We're going to be talking to Chad minutes from now to talk about that organization and again the connection that I didn't know I had with all of that. I can't thank both of you enough for being here.
Oh, thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. We go back a long way, Kimba.
We sure do. I believe it's the 1800s, I think it was.
It's an honor to be on your show. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Thank you. And again, Matthew, thank you again for your willingness to perform that song.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Rich Ulloa, Matthew Sabatella, love you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me. Always good to see you. Joining me now, look at the founder, president, CEO. Did I get all the titles right of Guitars Over Guns? Chad Bernstein, hi.
Hi, how are you?
So far, so good. If you would tell us, whichever order you want to do this, how you came to start the organization and what it is exactly.
I came to start it. I was playing with a band, Swenelo, in Miami. Mutual friend of the band's said, hey, I'd really love for you guys to come and perform and do somewhat of a career day type of thing for this group of students that I'm working with at a juvenile detention center. I think what she was trying to accomplish was really just, giving these kids a window into the music world. We show up to this juvenile detention center and we're immediately surprised that we were being wanded and our instruments were being gone through and x-rayed. And they actually told us that we couldn't bring in the guitars because the strings could be used to strangle us. Immediately kind of wondering what we got ourselves into. Ultimately, we were able to bring the instruments in and kind of set up. And these 40 kids kind of like come around us and we're talking to them about the music industry and just nothing is hitting, paint drying on the walls. As a last ditch effort, we decided to play for them. And as we were starting to play for them, we started to see kind of some heads nodding and some groove infecting the room. And that's really what broke the ice. All of a sudden the kids just could see pieces of this unfolding. And one of them actually between songs shouted something out from the back of the room and like sang it, but was kind of trying to be,
It wasn't Freebird, was it?
No, I'll never forget what they said. They said, na na nueve. We flipped it on them and we had them repeat it back and then started this chant back and forth and then built a song around it.
Made a song.
You could see all the lights go on and everyone, the whole energy of the room changed. And then from there on, all right, game on. Like, I want to know how you do this. Tell me about this. And then we started to talk about who their influences were and what they listened to. And it created the environment for some really incredible conversations to happen. By the end of this, we're talking to them about how they felt about the system and what their aspirations were and how the world kind of worked against them in these ways. And to the point where the teacher was saying, like, I've been working with these kids for a year and you've done more in an hour in terms of getting them to open up about stuff. That was the kind of informative experience that led to Guitars Over Guns. I co-founded it with my dad, allowed us to give back, to use music, which, we all has affected all of our lives, yours included. How do you give that to a group of kids that no longer gets it in school? Like, how asinine that seemed to a musician that was introduced to music in school, or at least the opportunity to play music in school. Like, had that not been the case for me, like, I don't know where I'd be in life.
What does the organization do on a regular basis?
At the core, we're an arts-based youth development program. So we use music as a bridge, like we did in the Juvenile Detention Center, to create the inroads to to forming transformational relationships with professional musicians. And these professional musicians are all local Chicago and Miami musicians, respectively. And they spend twice a week for 2 hours in school, like after school, but in the school itself. So kids don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to own an instrument. We provide the instruments. We provide the instruction. It's the same musician, the same mentor that works with you the entire school year. And you end up forming these really incredible relationships where through music and through understanding the power of expressing yourself through that medium, you understand who you are and like, what is it that I'm expressing, and being challenged to think about that and being challenged to set a new standard of success that you want to be held accountable to. So if you know who you are, now you're in the driver's seat. We're going to ask you, what are your goals? What are your aspirations? They can be whatever you want, but don't let them be limited by anything other than you. Don't let
going on about your surroundings and your environment. And
there are a lot of things telling us what we should or shouldn't accomplish, or what we should or shouldn't achieve, or what we are or aren't entitled to, or what he, she, or they didn't accomplish because it wasn't in the cards for them because of whatever, community or opportunity or money or access. Let's get rid of all that. Why don't you define success for yourself? I'm going to hold you accountable to achieving it. And you're in the driver's seat. And like, now let's rewrite the narrative of your life in your words. More often than not, the one that's holding yourself back. How many times have we self-sabotage from saying like, here, I have this great idea, but man, I could never really do that. Or I don't have this, that, or the other thing to make that happen. Or
we've got this entire sky to fly and we tether ourselves down.
We're all afraid of failing. And if that fear of failure keeps us from trying, that's really the only failure. Failure is the one thing that is absolutely necessary for success. You know, youth in vulnerable communities, youth that have had to deal with systemic oppression, with poverty, with other things. First of all, we all have so many levels of protection, human nature, to prevent us from feeling like we're failing, from taking those risks. When you stack up all the things that come with the byproducts of systemic oppression and marginalization of communities and individuals, like there's a lot that is really endemic to protecting yourself in that situation. And that's why we train the mentors the way that we do in trauma-informed care and in mental health and in dealing with some of these challenges. The starting line for the race is not the same for everybody, and we have to acknowledge that.
I first heard about Guitars Over Guns. I know you started it in 2008, but I didn't hear about it until several years ago. I was at the breast cancer walk at Bayfront Park with the radio station, and there was a band that was performing there. Gabriel, he was part of your organization. Yep. Yeah, they had the Guitars Over Guns shirt. So of course, when he came up and was talking to us, I'm like, well, what is that? And told me. So I started following you on Instagram and him.
He's a board member now.
Oh, that's fantastic. Tell him I said hi.
I will.
This podcast is kind of how worlds collide and how we're all somewhat intertwined. I met you at the most unfortunate of events. And that was because you were talking about mentors. And I know that he was a participant in that. It was a small gathering of the friends and family of Dan Warner at one of his favorite places because it's September 5th, a year ago. So we're right up on the year anniversary, the extremely unexpected and untimely passing of Dan. A beloved human being, Grammy, Emmy award winner, and he gave up his time to Guitars Over Guns.
He gave a lot. He gave a lot to a lot of people. I can't believe it's a year tomorrow.
Is that crazy? I know.
He gave, first of all, he was a larger than life hero that helped me break more into the Miami music scene. We played the Latin Grammys together. We did a whole bunch of recording sessions together. He gave one of our very first students, he called up Taylor Guitars and said, hey, here's this organization that's doing this thing. I think it's really cool. And there's this kid that really, deserves one of these guitars. And I think it'd mean the world to him if you got it. And I don't know what the conversation went, and Dan obviously downplayed it. He was just the kind of guy that moved mountains for people.
While I knew Dan and I knew of Guitars Over Guns, I didn't know of his association, like I said, until his passing. Also, I'm wearing this shirt. This is the Dan Warner shirt. So the proceeds from the shirt, by the way, to Guitars Over Guns.
Yeah.
Something that Dan's wife and daughter, in lieu of flowers and donations, asked the Dan Warner Memorial Scholarship Fund
Yeah.
that you can donate that way as well.
And wanted to honor him in that way. And I mean, I'm so humbled by that, and so proud to carry on his legacy in any way that I can. And it will live on forever through the music that he created, because he just had a way of making people feel so big, because it was so easy to feel so small.
Of course, you put down that weapon, make music, not war. All of the proceeds benefit Guitars Over Guns.
And a big thanks to Rich.
And how did that happen?
I'm just the lucky guy that got the call from Rich. Has been a very good friend of my manager, Melanie Masterson, who's ironically the one that introduced me to Dan. And I couldn't be more appreciative. In this COVID time, it's disproportionately affecting communities of color, the families of our students. And many of our students are living in challenging circumstances, and being quarantined into those circumstances is not easy either. All of our programs never stopped. We were virtual within a week, and we're recruiting this week for programs that will start next week. So we have nearly 100 professional musicians between Chicago and Miami. And we were able to raise enough funds to provide all of them with a stipend because we know that all musicians' income stopped abruptly. Our organization needs it. Our kids need it. It is providing essential services, connections to food and dealing with food scarcity. It's providing mental health services for our students. All the things you wouldn't necessarily imagine a music organization doing. The reality is, through music, we create relationships that are so close that we understand really what the needs of the students and the families in the community are in that context. And we are servants of that purpose, and have been working diligently to make sure that we are good stewards of those relationships and the trust that we've built in the community to do right by our kids and their families, and every dollar helps. So we have a big annual fundraiser that's going to be completely virtual this year. So no matter where you're listening to this podcast from, you can join us on November 14th. All the information is on guitarsoverguns.org. Also follow us on social media at Guitars Over Guns. All that information will be shared there as well. We also have a bi-monthly showcase series that's happening. The next one will be featuring Matthew Sabatella.
I know that name.
And that's on September 10th. Sounds of Our Hometowns. And so it's featuring artists from Miami and Chicago. I think Matthew's a beautiful person and really brilliant musician, and it's just been great to see him develop his project and his voice for such a long time, and to see it come to fruition now is special. So I want to thank you for having the show, and thank Rich and the Wine Tea crew and all the brilliant musicians that played on that album.
I want to thank you. I'm grateful that you're doing what you do, because music is for a lot of us therapy in and of itself.
Yeah.
I want to thank Carly, your assistant, for helping to facilitate this.
Nothing happens in my life without Carly.
Shout out to Carly. Chad Bernstein, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
It is the year anniversary of Dan Warner's death, and I want to dedicate this episode to his memory because of all of these worlds coming together and colliding. And as Dan would say, groove is everything. It's not so surprising that the last time we hung out was watching a local band by the name of The Groove. Very fitting. Thank you so much for being one of Kimba's herd, and thank you for listening to me, Kimba, radio broadcast episode 19. Now this is what it's like when worlds collide.
This Kimba's on the radio. Kimba!